Hello, hello. Give you guys some time to get in. Hello. Okay, let's see if I can. Oh, bow. Hey, we're pinning. It's so easy now. Look at. Oh, I actually didn't pin it. I'm weak. I got so excited that I pinned it and it didn't even work. There we go. Hi, everyone. Hello, hello. Welcome, guys. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day. Happy Master Manifestors Wednesday. What's up, y'all? Hi. Drop where you guys are coming from below. This is like the first time I'm coming from Atlanta. A cute little, I was about to say reschedule. A cute little, what's the word I'm looking for? Relocation. That's the word I'm looking for. Hi, guys. Hello, hello. Okay, let's see. Hey, Elise is in the building. Hi, guys. Go. I'm so excited. This is gonna be. Oh, there she
Hi!
is.
How are
How
you?
are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Happy Wednesday, sis.
Happy Wednesday. I'm really, really glad to be here. Honestly, it's an honor. You are so
Yes.
accomplished. You have so much energy. I'm so glad that you asked me to be a part of this. This is exciting.
Elise, thank you so much because I feel the
Yeah.
same about you, kindred spirits. So again, I'll let you introduce yourself. I'll do our cute little intro now. Welcome
Great.
everyone to Soul Sister Network's Master Manifestors. This is our first episode in a while, so I'm excited to get off of this hiatus, and this is the perfect girl to do it. I'm telling y'all, I felt vibes already. The moment that she and I connected, I was like, this is gonna be a good talk. My soul was already like, this is it.
I agree.
Yes, right. So this is the wonderful Elise Swopes. I'm going to let you do your intro, but first I always like to tell people how you and I got connected. So me and Elise are actually new soul friends. We were connected through a mutual friend of ours who I actually asked to be on Master Manifestors. I'm not going to put her on blast, but you'll be up here one day, girl. But she connected us and she reached out to me and she was like, I'm not ready, but I have a really, really good friend that I need to connect you with because she's ready. And I was like, oh, all right, I'll see. And we connected on the phone and I was like, oh, this is it. This is all the vibes, all the love. I felt it immediately. So Elise, take it
Absolutely.
away. Tell us all about you, where you come from, all that good stuff.
Thank you so
You're
much. That
welcome.
was a wonderful intro. Yeah, my name is Elise Swopes. For those who don't know me, I feel like there's a few of my followers who are hopefully tuned in too, which should be exciting.
Yes,
Hi,
welcome,
everybody. Thanks for
welcome.
joining us. So I actually was born in Minnesota, in St. Paul. Not many people know
Okay,
that.
love
Yeah.
that.
And I grew up, but in the suburbs of Chicago. I moved there when I was like, I think like 3 or 4, maybe.
Love it.
So I grew up in the suburbs. Growing up in the suburbs, at least for me specifically, especially growing up as a mixed kid, my dad's black,
Mm,
my mom's white.
mm-hmm.
There was a lot growing up that I really hadn't like digested, I guess, especially being
Yeah,
a child, you don't really realize that how the separation and just the different
exactly.
social, things that kind of come into play. And so
Yep.
for me, I was actually homeschooled until third grade as well. So that,
Really?
yeah, my dad's a teacher.
I
And
love
so
that.
when I started going to school, I think I realized there was a lot of difference, um, in society, and it kind of made me a little bit reclusive. And so my
Mm.
mom got us like a computer in like 1999, and it was like this old iMac computer, is the iMac G3. I remember it
Okay, I love
specifically.
that one.
And it had this wonderful program on it called KidPix, and I just became obsessed with it. It was like this digital outlet for me, where I could
Mm-hmm.
escape from society and expectations and life and just stuff that I didn't really understand, and even just with my own emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I just became obsessed with creating things digitally. I owned my first website by the time I was in sixth grade. And I
What?
was coding and stuff
Yes.
like that, I think I was like 10,
So when you
11
were
years old.
coding, was it like self-taught?
It was self-taught, yeah, very much
Yes.
self-taught. So I think that self-taught kind of mentality came from
Mm-hmm.
me being homeschooled. My dad
Mm-hmm.
really helped me. understand the concept of just teaching myself and not necessarily having to wait for anybody, which can be
Yes.
helpful in some cases, but
But in other cases, it's like,
but
wait, what?
not right when you're actually in school, which, caused me to be a little bit problematic while I was in school, which I never liked to
Mm.
listen. I never liked to, I like to skip ahead. I just
Mm-hmm.
like to do my own thing. And so
Yeah.
even when I started college at Columbia College, for broadcast journalism, which is funny because I actually wanted to be a VJ on TRL. And
I
TRL was
love
on
it.
TV at the time, but it canceled that year. So I was like, I don't want to go to
A
school
new
for something
dream.
I know. Right. So I actually dropped out my freshman year because
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it wasn't just the TRL thing, but it was just
Mm-hmm.
also, I realized that it's just
Alignment.
school wasn't for me. I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to teach
Mm-hmm.
myself and be in the streets and figure
Yes.
it out on my own. And that's what I did for 4 years, while everyone
Yes.
else around me is, graduating and getting jobs and kind of, what it
Mm.
seemed like doing what they loved and what
Yep.
they wanted. But, as time goes on, I started realizing that investment of my gut instinct, that
Mm.
investment of that love for myself really ended up playing off, and so I'm
Yes.
just I ended up actually going back to school for like a couple semesters because I went back for media management and graphic design because I ended up like getting tons of projects when I signed up for Instagram during that period of time, that 4 years where I was a dropout.
Yep.
I started Instagram in 2011, and I mean I was broke. I'm not gonna lie, I had nothing to my name. My
No, we
parents
all been there.
hardly could help me. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
was dropped out, so they're like, you need to figure it out
Figure
yourself.
out.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so I had this broken iPhone 4. I had, this platform that allowed me to share like creative stuff that kind
Yes.
of was a backbone to, what I had already been doing is creative stuff, that I loved as a child. And so got real creative with that, posted consistently, and became a suggested user on Instagram. And through that, I've gained like thousands and thousands of followers within weeks, within days, within months, and that kind of keeps you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
Within those years of being a
Yes.
decently well-known artist on the internet, and everyone's kind of like, what's Instagram? And you're explaining it to people. That's quite an
Wow.
experience. And so I tried to take advantage of it. Within the last 10 years, I've had over 150 different brand partnerships with agencies and brands
Honey, we love
directly.
it. Yes.
Yeah, I've done lots of talks. I've traveled the world, and all because of my iPhone and just the trust in my
Yes.
gut. So
Yes.
it's something that I like to preach.
Yes, I want to get into
Hmm.
that trust of your gut. So, for anyone
Hmm.
who's listening to this for the first time, Master Manifestors is all about me talking to another woman of color about how she manifested something beautiful in her life. And what you're getting into really is all about like trusting your own intuition, which is a really big key part of manifesting. And I think sometimes that is the disconnect.
Yeah.
Um, Especially, it's so many things I want to get into of what you just said.
Yay!
I think the first thing that resonated with me the most, I don't know if anyone below resonated, when you're kind of in a season where you feel like you're by yourself and everybody else is doing something a little different.
Mm.
Like when you were like, yeah, like all my other friends that I graduated with and stuff, they're over here graduating, but I'm over here kind of like moving to the beat of my own drum. So,
Yeah.
how did you, I guess, internally deal with, you know, that? That's the
Uh,
biggest way I can
it's
ask.
that's a fantastic question.
Mm-hmm.
I think the greatest thing that's allowed me to deal with that is just continuing, persevering, just
Mm.
doing and saying yes and figuring it out later somewhat. Most of what I've accomplished has been somewhat on accident, I'll be honest.
Mm. Or
Um,
was it by accident? Was it just not your plan, but it was just the universe's
Not
plan
in
all
mine.
along, you know?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, I think it's in, well, I like to say luck is preparation times opportunity, and so in
Yes, I
this,
say the same
there's
thing.
right. So there's been a lot of opportunity that has been placed in front of me where I've allowed
Mm-hmm.
myself to present myself. It doesn't necessarily mean that
Mm.
I always know what I'm doing, because there's a lot of gigs and a lot of things that I've done where I just said yes and figured it out later, and
Love that. Yep.
that is really,
See, that's the hustle too. That's
yeah,
like,
absolutely.
it's, I feel like opportunities, it's all about like a balance of being prepared, right? But also knowing how to like fake it till you make it. It's kind of
Yes.
like a
Yeah.
nice balance that you have to have.
Hmm.
Because I know me and you were
Right.
talking about this before, Elise, but for anyone who's meeting me for the first time, my background is in the music industry. So I also come from very humble and hard beginnings of trying to get into an industry that everybody wants to get into. And then when you're in it, you're working like those 80-hour weeks, and it's like hitting the pavement and figuring out a bunch of stuff like out of nowhere. I felt like every day, if you watch like Making the Band back in the day with Diddy, when he was like, walk the Brooklyn Bridge and get me a piece of cheesecake, I felt like every other day was kind of that energy at that job.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I'll figure it out, so it's kind of like
Right.
being like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but being aligned enough to know that what you're doing is aligned with you, right? Because
Yeah.
you're nodding your head, like,
Yeah,
let me know
I
your thoughts on that
agree.
one.
I
Hmm.
absolutely, I mean, I think it's almost hard to say, because when you're in it, and this even goes for, I mean, I've skipped a little bit of where I really had some biggest issues, where I had a bit of a
Hmm.
drug problem with
Oh, we'll
Xanax,
go back.
and
We'll go back.
yeah, and I had a little bit
Hmm.
of a drug problem, and I
Hmm.
think when I was in that and I was a depressive
Mm.
state, it was almost hard to imagine what else there was, but
Mm.
in my gut and in my soul, I wanted more. I wanted something else.
Mm.
And that drive beyond what was almost like rational at the time made me want more and continue to be consistent with the manifestations that I have now. Instead of
Yes.
apologize for any trigger warnings for anybody, but instead of committing suicide in the way that I
Hmm.
very much considered, in my past, is that I think that I'm so glad I trusted my gut, and that instead of up
Yes.
here,
Hmm.
trusting soul down
Trusting that
here where
soul,
it
knowing that
began.
it was bigger than that one
Hmm.
moment. And I feel like
Bigger,
for
bigger.
anybody else who's going through something, because first off, 2020 is like the year of like going through something. I feel like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be big for everybody, but it
Yeah,
definitely seems that everybody I know is rebuilding a foundation of some sort or dealing with some
absolutely.
sort of loss. So for me,
Hmm.
especially when you're manifesting, it's when you go to look at content, everybody's like, be positive, think positive, it'll come to you,
Mm,
write it down, make a vision
right.
board, babe, and it's gonna happen. And it's like, that's great, but girl, I'm depressed, So it's like, how
Right.
what are you talking about? So when
That's
I was,
where, yeah, absolutely. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no,
you
girl,
talked a little
go.
about the fake it till you make it. There's an
Hmm.
extent to that. You know what I mean? With especially with the toxic positivity that's going on, you still have to be realistic and approach and
Yep.
conversate within yourself, and not to push
Wow.
and resist things away, because the more you resist and push things away, the more it's going to show up and be persistent within your life. And
Oh,
so
yes, it
I'm
will.
telling you, when you show up, as long as you show up, it will you will get everything. I mean, that's as
Yes.
simple as it gets.
I love that. As long as you show up, you will get
Hmm.
everything. I
Yeah.
love that. Somebody write that below because I don't want anybody to miss that. As long as you show up.
Yeah, I think showing up is
Yes.
is the it's the battle. I mean, that's it.
Mm.
That's I mean, the
Yeah.
unknown, I think, is, and the perfection too. The perfectionism. And that is a part of, I think perfectionism is a part of fear. I think with
Oh, for sure.
perfectionism, there's a fear of failure, there's a fear of looking silly, there's a
Huge.
fear, and so I think when you let go, not so much let go of it and ignore it, but make friends with it and see it for what it is, then that's where your opportunities are going to lie. You can kind of start seeing, okay, what kind
Yes.
of book do I need? What kind of class do I need? Who do I need to talk to? What kind of questions do I
Exactly.
need to
And
ask?
then
What do I need
here's
to work on?
exactly like you have to do the work. The thing about manifestation
Hmm.
is you can write down where you want to get to, right? And
Hmm.
what works for me is I can tell when the universe is pushing something in my direction. So I do think that goes into intuition, like you were talking about before. And that's
Absolutely.
nothing, I just want to preface by saying that's nothing anybody else can teach you, right? Your
Yeah.
intuition is with you for a reason. So I feel like the biggest advice I could give anybody about intuition is just to start to meditate or just sit in a room by
Mm-hmm.
yourself and see what comes up. And eventually, when all the stuff gets out that doesn't have to do with really what's going on in here, it'll come up. And the more you let it come up,
Yes.
the more you'll like really be in tune with that inner voice, right? But I want to tap into something you were saying, right? Yes, yes, yes. First off, we're already getting into it and it's only 8:16. I was like, yes. Yes.
I
Okay.
love it.
So, I feel like, so you were talking about trying to create in the middle of trauma, right?
Yeah.
So, what was that experience like for you? Like, just being
Mm.
honest and being authentic. Like, when you were at your low, were you even thinking about creating this life that you have now? Or was it a vibe where it's like, honey, I'm just trying to make it?
Just trying to make it.
Yeah,
I
that's,
swear, my greatest
I,
goal was getting to nighttime or to seeing like
mm-hmm,
nighttime. Like I wanted it to be nighttime. I didn't want to necessarily not wake up, but I
mm-hmm,
dreaded the unknown. I dreaded
mm-hmm,
what was to come because I almost felt like it was out of my control, you know? Like I
mm,
genuinely thought that my emotions were based on other people, my tactics were, everything in my life
yeah,
was based on the external until I really decided that I was tired of allowing that negativity to to
yes,
push me. So I made sure that I meditated. I've been meditating for 4 years consistently, which
yes,
has changed my mindfulness, my
right,
awareness. I've been working out, which is huge. I love being in my own body.
mm-hmm,
I journal, I write, I organize, I plan. It's really
yes,
all about being about almost delayed gratification. I think I was
mm-hmm,
really all about the immediate of things in the past, but now it's all about how can I invest in myself? How can I invest in
yes,
others? How can I just trust and believe in the outcome and trust and believe in myself? Because the more
mm,
that I do that, I promise, like I just see wonderful things happen. How can I not continue to live that
yes.
life?
I
It's a key and
love
a
that.
secret I
It
want to
is.
share, but you
Please,
don't feel it
yes.
until you almost get there because that's
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm,
mentality I couldn't even touch, when I was in those low moments. And to think that I could
mm-hmm,
even feel like that, to even be like that is wild to me. But I'm grateful that I felt that because now I know what gratitude is. Now I know,
mm-hmm.
where it can go. And now I understand other
Yes,
people, most importantly, because empathy is the biggest, most important thing to understanding yourself. Because when you can be
yes.
empathetic with other people, you can be empathetic with yourself. You can understand yourself. You can
Whew.
understand. I mean, it's the
It's,
whole dichotomy that
it
I didn't
is, but
understand. But once
it's
I
so
finally
true.
clicked, I was like, girl, let's go. Like, life is
Mm-hmm.
exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because like what you're talking about, empathy, I also feel like
Hmm.
ties into forgiveness in a sense. And it's not even necessarily about forgiving other people, it's about forgiving yourself as
Hmm.
well. And I feel
Yes.
like empathy ties into that forgiveness. Like the moment that you can just be real with yourself and say, you
Oh,
know what, I'm having a moment.
yes.
And
Ooh,
it's
that's the
okay.
beginning. That's
It's
it.
okay for me to have a moment. Like it's all right. Like, and if I did something that wasn't the best for myself, guess what?
Hmm.
It's all right. It's not the end of the world. We're just going to pick up from
Yep.
here and we're going to keep
Yep.
it pushing. Yes.
Yep.
I want to shout out Divine Flow because she said trauma inspires transmutation. And I
Hmm.
felt that
It does.
deeply. It really does. And so for me,
It
manifestation is like
does.
really tied into religion for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like so
Okay.
it
Yeah,
flows differently for everyone. So for
it
me,
does.
because I grew up in the church, I kind of
Hmm.
got into manifestation. And I was like, oh, like really, they be manifesting the Bible all the time. Like the tongue is powerful,
Hmm.
this, that, and the third.
It
So it was
is. Words are very
easy.
powerful.
Yeah, it was like easy for me to transfer over into this world
Hmm.
and like merge them together, right? So
That's cool. I
I
love
was,
that.
thank you. So I was reading a book actually this week about transmutation by T.D. Jakes, and it's called Crushing. Girl,
Ooh.
okay, let me tell you something. So the premise, I'm not all the way through it yet, so I will say this. I don't know if anyone else has read it all the way through. Don't ruin it. But I'm pretty sure I have the gist of the whole thing. You know those books where it's like I'm
Yeah.
telling the same story over and over again because I want you to get it, but this is basically it, right?
Absolutely.
So the premise of the book is all about transmutation. And for anyone who doesn't know what transmutation is basically like the you know, if you've ever heard that quote where like if you're a grape, you got to get smashed down to become wine. If you're a piece of
Hmm.
coal, you got to get pressed down to become a diamond. A seed has to be planted deep in the ground. And if you're that seed, you don't see anything around you but darkness, right?
Hmm.
But in the
Hmm.
end, you end up transforming and it's something beautiful and you just transmute
Right.
to something different, right?
Yeah.
So I feel
Yeah.
like that really is in the spirit of everything you're talking about. So
It
shout
is.
out to Divine Flow because I love that trauma inspires transmutation because it really
Absolutely.
does. And I
Like a
complete
butterfly too,
exactly
almost.
same thing,
Hmm.
same thing. That's an even better example, honestly, because I feel like that's the one most people know. Like, you know, being
Yeah.
in that cocoon. And I feel like
Yeah.
2020 really honestly feels like a cocoon for everybody.
Hmm.
Feels like the entire world is kind of get putting in a cocoon. Even the way that now all of us are like
Hmm.
quarantining and by ourselves
Yes.
and separate. It's like isolating us and growing us
So
in a
true.
very different way.
Mhm.
Um, but
In a
yes to
necessary
everything.
way.
Necessary.
I'm gonna
Yes.
be honest, I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes I'm not gonna say, there's clearly a lot of horrible things that have happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of lost lives, but I think if you can see where you can take advantage of a lot of these,
Mm-hmm.
separate moments, I think you can really come up out of this,
Yep.
having an introspective time to think about your goals, think about, what's your purpose? Who are you really trying to help? What are you really
Mm-hmm.
doing? And what is tangible in what you're doing?
Yep.
Because now it's being very, it's clear day by day on really what matters. And as much as the world is pretty chaotic right now, I feel like sometimes the chaos has to be shown for us to
Mm.
understand the severity of it, And
Oh
so now
yeah.
I think people are awake more than ever. And it could be obvious that things are really crazy, but I swear and I promise with time, I feel like things are going to get so much better.
Exactly. I completely agree. I'm definitely in a very transitional phase
Mhm.
myself, but even still, I kind of think that's the beauty about
Mhm.
being in your intuition a little bit because it's like externally, it's like faith over fear. You know, I'm in this
Yes.
battle
Yep.
right now that I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I can't really see anything right now. I think something's on the other side of it. I have faith that something's over there, but at the same
Yes.
time, like, what? You know? Um,
Yeah.
so I
That's
don't
all it
know.
is.
Exactly. Faith over
That's
fear,
it.
y'all. We got this.
That's
We got
it.
this. Yes. So I want to get into it. This whole thing is about talking about something that you have like manifested from the ground up. Like it could be more than one thing. Like normally someone gets on one tangent and we get on this other tangent. I'm here for it. But this is all about you telling us how you manifested something so dope that even you were like, I did that?
um, I have manifested quite a bit of things in my life.
It seems like it.
From projects with Apple, from projects with Adidas, from projects with
Yes.
National Geographic, Jameson, Lyft, Uniqlo. The list goes on.
Yes.
Um,
Come with a
and
resume.
when
I'm here for it.
yeah. So, to be pretty like vague about all of it, and I could be really
Mm-hmm.
specific in a second, but I think the reason why I tend to manifest a lot of this, and we've touched a little bit about this earlier, is
Mm-hmm.
that I I say yes. And
I love
I
that.
study. This is the thing about manifestation is to me is it's not a magic thing, okay? I think it's a genuinely tangible philosophical, I don't know if that's the word, but it's like there's rules to it. There's steps.
Yes,
There's
it really
a
is.
tangible thing to it, And so for
Yep.
me, when it comes to a lot of these projects and a lot of these things, I've got to make sure that I'm studying. I'm studying what's going on. I'm
Mm.
studying what I want for myself.
Wow.
Who am I trying to be? What am I trying to accomplish? What am I trying to show? Who am I trying to show to? You know? And
Mm-hmm.
then after that I'm practicing, right? I'm
Wow,
actually taking
yes.
action, right? Because that's the most important part is
That's the
just
key. Come on, Elise. I knew I liked you, girl. That's the
just
key.
doing it,
Do
right?
it. Yes.
Just go ahead because this is the thing. There's been plenty of opportunities I've had and especially manifested that have gotten me to the next level that may
Mm-hmm.
not have been successful. Sometimes manifestations are not going to be like the most successful things, but they're going to be
That's
lessons
true.
still, and things that
Exactly.
you can bring to the next, situation. So I feel like
Exactly.
I've said yes enough, to practice, to study, and then also I've talked about it. I'm sharing it with people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest
Yes.
thing, is I'm sharing it, right? And I think a lot of people, that's sometimes where it stops. It's sometimes where, because the
Mm-hmm.
perfection, the fear, the social
Yep.
media expert, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where a lot of people stop.
It
And
adds the pressure.
so I've been able to share a lot of my life, especially since I've been 10 years old,
Mm.
Zanga, live journals, making my website, having my
Yes.
MySpace, like having my Instagram. I think there's never been, and especially my Twitter, there's never been a
Mm-hmm.
moment where I haven't shared and tried to just listen to my gut and be who I am. And of course, I've been
Mm.
there, and not to say there hasn't been, because there's been
Mm-hmm.
plenty of situations
Mm-hmm.
where I have held myself back,
For
questioned a lot of
sure.
things. That's a
Yeah.
fact. But I think I've been successful is that I have been able to share my successes, have been able to share my failures. Okay. Because
Mm.
that's where I think a lot of manifestation comes from. Is not just sharing everything that you necessarily think you should do,
Mm-hmm.
but just share everything, because you never know who's watching. You never know who is going to like it. You never know what opportunity lies for you, what
Yeah.
possibilities there are, because when you shut yourself off
Mm-hmm.
from, what feels right or what you want to do because
Yep.
someone else is telling you not to, or you're the
Mm-hmm.
expectations, you're cutting yourself off from
Oh,
the
for sure.
possibilities of what you
Oh,
can
yeah.
become, of what you can do, of what you can learn, of what,
Yes.
you know so
Yes.
that's another thing. And then, so, talking about it, I think showing it, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
and then living it, being about it. I think when you tell people how to think about you, they listen. You don't want to leave anything to
Mm.
question.
So what do you mean by that? Like telling people about you, they listen. Do you mean like coming online and being authentic? Does that mean showing people who you are through your
Yeah.
work?
I think it starts with value. Starts with how you
Mm.
value yourself. It starts
Mm-hmm.
with how you want to be interpreted, because that's where the words you use matter. That's where the
Mm-hmm.
things that you do matter. I think
Yep.
that's when you're living it, you're intentional. And that's where it kind of
Mm.
begins for me. And so I try
Yes.
to be intentional and present. And a lot of my opportunities have come from that. I truly believe it has come from the trust within myself, to study, to practice, to talk about it, to show it, to live it.
Mm.
Those are literally my steps. And
Yes.
it's proven. I can't, and I'm saying, of
Mm.
course, like I said, there's been failures, there's been a lot
Yeah,
of
of
things
course.
that, I mean,
Of
every
course.
project that I've done on my website, whatever, 150 whatever projects, not all of them I have been like, oh, that was my best thing, I'm so happy. Even when I look back, there's some ways that I could have even been more calm with the changes
Mm.
of
Mm-hmm.
certain projects and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. So not even just from the creative side, but from the personal side of, how can I
Mm-hmm.
respond better to things? How can
Yeah.
I, because I remember that the outcome wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Like nothing,
Isn't
no
that
one,
always how it is? It's like at the
like
time, one period might be off on something or
yeah.
one brushstroke, and you're like, oh, here we go. And then you go back and look at it, and you're like, wait a minute.
No
Isn't
one
it
even
that
cared. No one even noticed. You think perfect is like the
bad?
epitome, but it's really sometimes good, and just going for
Yep.
it is enough. I mean, sometimes we overwork ourselves to oblivion for the expectation when it's not even there. And
Yep.
so, the thing is, and I've been considering this so much lately, is um the way that we can, like, think about, we care so much about how we are
Mm-hmm.
perceived. We're always
Yes.
thinking about, what am I doing my day, how am I doing whatever. And you think about how other people are thinking about you, and that's your worry. But then you have
Mm-hmm.
to understand that if everyone else is like you and thinking about themselves just as much, then
Then
no
like
one's even thinking
no one's
about
even thinking
you like
about
that.
you
They're
like
thinking
at
about
all. Everyone's
themselves.
thinking
Like,
about them. That's
yeah, yes. And it's been, I mean,
that's
it
so
sounds a little
true.
confusing, but I swear I think we're in this weird cyclical thing where, like, we're just trapped in the idea that people care as much as they do when they
Would
just want to be
really,
inspired. They just want to do
exactly.
something that makes them, and to engage with someone, or to learn something about someone, or to do
Yep.
something that they can use to better
Yep.
themselves so that they can feel a little better. So how, and then that's what I try to do day to day now. And that's where a little bit of my focus is how can I share my story? How can I share
Hmm.
my ups, my downs, my all the things,
Yes.
so that someone else could use it for them, because that's really where my value
Yes. And
lies.
I love it because that's why we're connected, because that is
Hmm.
everything that Soul Sister Network is built on. Everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Everything. I built it with that exact thing in mind. I was like, I just want people to be more authentic. I just want to talk about getting our lives together as a collective. Where can I do that? F it, I'll just make something of my own. Like,
You know?
and that's just kind of how it happened. And just like you were saying, like
Hmm.
being intentional about what you put out and knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect. That's the biggest, this has been like my biggest creative baby so far. And when I put it out there, I was like, oh my God, no one's going to want to join.
Right.
The first time I went on live, I was like, everyone's going to be looking at my face crazy. Like, are they going to be worried about my voice? And meanwhile, like you said, no one's even where everyone else is like worried about themselves, like
Yeah.
it's the craziest
Literally.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So you
Yeah.
were doing a lot of talking about being intentional, right? So
Hmm.
for anybody out there who's like, let's say they're living a life right now that isn't as intentional as they want it to be. And they want to say, okay, I love what Elise was talking about. How can I get to that point? How can I live my day to day life by being intentional, but by like realistic steps? Like, what
Yeah.
advice would you give them?
I would start, and I call it a life audit, because I do this every like two
Love
months or so. I
it.
call it a
Come
life
on,
audit.
life
So
audit.
I'll start at the long term goal. So the long
Mm-hmm.
term is like the vision I have of myself as older. And
How old? Like 20
I
years in the
mean,
future or like 50?
I'm probably retired. I'm gonna be happy I'm doing this. This is how I'm gonna help people. This is where
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make most of my bread, you know.
Yes.
So this is why it changes every 1 to 2 months. So I might check in with
Mm-hmm.
myself. So I'll do a bunch of long term. So this starts on how my house is gonna look. How much money am I gonna make? What's my savings like? What kind of houses do I have? What do my houses look like? What are my like? What do I do for my job? How do people see
Mm-hmm.
me? How do I help people? Like very specific things.
Yes.
So from there, what I'll do is I'll break those down into short-term goals. So from
Mm.
that, I'll kind of break down those long terms into actual tangible things that will add up to get to those long-term things. So maybe I need to
Yes.
take a class. Maybe I need, so for example, I wanted to do some acting. This was like months ago. I don't really want to do it too
Mm-hmm.
much anymore because I've changed my mind quite a bit.
Yeah.
It'll come when it
I
needs to. I think I
love
want to
it.
be
The
on the other
freedom.
side. Yeah, on the other side of the camera, which I allow myself to change and to
Mm-hmm.
grow with it.
I love that.
But one of my long terms, was like be in movies and TV or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my short terms was, do some acting classes. And so I wrote down just some broke down things from those long term. And then from the short term, I'll do some tangible tasks. So this is even more of a
Mm.
breakdown from, for example, from the class. I'll do like what class, where am I taking it, what days am I doing it, who am I seeing.
Yes.
And then from there, I'll also do another sheet. So this is where I
I
break down the
love it.
tasks
I'm so type
into
A. This is my energy. I'm like, how?
it.
Great, got
It
it.
it feels good because now you're focused, and it helps with
Yes.
your comparison, your distraction, all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But so what I'll do is I'll break those tasks down
Mm-hmm.
to daily tasks, and then weekly tasks, and then bi-monthly tasks, or bi-weekly and half month, and then monthly tasks. So I kind of think about,
Love it.
okay, what do I need to do day to day to get me to that place mentally,
Mm.
physically, whatever? What do I need to
Mm-hmm.
do weekly to get me to that place, right? So one of my top long-term goals was go to Fashion Week, be invited to Fashion Week, right?
Yes.
Which should be super fun, but how would I even get there? It doesn't make sense. I don't really do much fashion. I don't know. I like fashion and stuff, and I think it'd
Mm-hmm.
be fun.
Right.
But when I got down to my weekly task, I decided, okay, I'm gonna look at magazines. I'm gonna study a little bit of fashion. I'm gonna like go shopping a little bit more and kind of,
I love
actually
that.
trust my gut on what I like, and then post
Yes.
more fit pics and stuff like that. So,
Yes.
I think that. that right there, that's intentional to me. Like
I was
that's
gonna
where
say that's the action, because a lot of
Mhm,
people, like when breaking this all down in terms of
mhm,
manifestations, sometimes it's easy to write down your goal, put it somewhere and say, I want
mhm.
that, and then like go somewhere and do something else. But I love a lot of people in the comments are saying, like, I'm a Virgo, so this makes me
Yes.
so happy.
I'm a
Shout out
Virgo
to
moon, so
Malika.
it makes
I'm a
sense.
Virgo moon too. Wait, did we talk about
Hey,
this?
I don't think so.
I don't think I knew it. So I was like, wow, I really relate to this. Of course.
Oh
Hello.
my God, this
What's
is
up,
amazing.
Virgos? Hey. Um,
Hey.
I love it. But no, so it's like when I come now, I'm like in astrology world. I'm like, wow, I wonder
Yes,
what else is in her chart. Like
I
that's where my head
know.
is at this point. But breaking it down into those intentional actions
Mhm.
is what gets you closer to the goal, because it's like
Yep.
if you show up every day for yourself, the universe kind of has no choice but to
No choice.
respond to the
Mhm.
consistency. Like that's like the whole thing about the law of attraction and manifestation. That's why when you were saying it, it's really like it really is a law. It's like the more you
Yeah.
focus on it, and if you're moving and doing all these steps,
Yeah.
you'll get there. But breaking it down into that tangible task of this is what I can do every day. This is what I can do every week.
Absolutely.
That's some really good advice, girl. Okay, so how
Yeah.
often okay, there she goes. Hi, Jane. Um so how often do you do this life audit? I'm curious because the Virgo in me is
Uh,
like, do we do this every month? Do we
Honestly, I will do it when I don't feel passionate about something. Because
love it.
I know, especially with the acting classes, like I took some like online during the thing and it was fun, but like I kept pushing it back every day. I was like, okay, I don't want to do it today. Oh, I don't want to do it this day. I don't
Mm,
want to do it. So I was listening to that instead of ignoring that. Because I know that, of course, we
mm,
push off things every now and then that
mm-hmm.
I don't know are for certain reasons, but I really wanted to face that and ask myself, okay, why am I not doing this? Why am I pushing it away? And I realized that there was just the reason why I wanted to do it was not for authentic reasons, I think. It was just to
Mm,
like because my one of my long-term goals was like make a lot of money, right? And
mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, how can you make a lot of money in this world? Okay, maybe you should
Yep.
act, maybe you should do this, so
Mm-hmm.
you kind of
Yep.
consider
Yep.
things that may work or may not, so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where I kind of got it from. But the more that I tested it out for a few of those months, I was like,
It's like,
it's really
ah.
not for
Mm-hmm.
me. And so I just changed it up. I didn't really, I just
I
moved
love
forward.
it. I
Yeah.
love it. And having the honesty and flow with yourself enough to be like, you know what? This isn't what I want to do anymore. For me personally, I don't know if anyone can relate. I struggle with the same thing, but
Mm,
like sometimes my fear will get in the way of something. So it's hard
yeah.
for me to know, like, am I not doing this because I'm a little afraid and that's good? So I should push myself, or am I not doing this because my intuition is like, girl, you don't want to do this? Like I'm like somewhere wedged in between the two.
It's difficult, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I that's
yeah.
the hard question is, how do you listen to your gut? When do you
Mhm.
know it's an instinct? But I think it's that immediate thing,
Mhm.
before your brain gets involved, before you start questioning stuff. It's that
Yes.
I mean, we all almost know, and that's why I've been doing these writings for a while, for like 3 4 years. Every day I
Mhm.
post them on my Instagram, and I did them because I really needed them, but I call them reminders because it's stuff that we already know, and I think
Mhm.
even where my anxiety came from, a lot of my depression in my past came from knowing that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing,
Mhm.
and
Wow.
then when I
Oh,
started to do it, my
yes.
hands weren't as sweaty anymore. I wasn't
Yep.
upset. I wasn't sad. I get excited about waking up in the morning. It was all about accountability and responsibility
Mm.
and taking, I mean, it was just not allowing the world to decide for me. And so when I finally
Oh,
did that,
yes.
everything was possible.
Wow. Not allowing the world to decide for me. I
No, that's
felt that in
yeah.
my chest. I'm like, whoa.
It's important. That's why I
It's
also
so
have
important.
yeah, I've got my morning routine. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. every
Ooh.
day for the same 3 4 years, because 3 4 years ago was when I started getting clean. I just quit cold turkey,
Mm.
and I just decided that I didn't want to live the way I was anymore. And so that's when I
Mm.
started meditating. I started working out, doing yoga, doing,
Yes.
just reading and writing and
Mm-hmm.
just getting my life together. And
I
so
love it.
that morning time for me, waking up at 5, from 5 to like 8 a.m., that's for me only. That's when I
Mm.
set the tone before the world gets to decide, because
Yes.
God knows the world will decide for me before I get
Won't
to.
they?
So, not I.
So, okay. So, not I, says the cat. I
Yeah, oh my
know.
God, that's my favorite. I say that all the time.
Me
Oh
too. I
my
don't know where I
gosh.
got that from, right?
It's a book. It's a book. There's some kind of book somewhere. I'm telling you.
I say it all the time. I'm like, yeah, not I, says
I
the
think
cat.
it's
I
like
think
a
I got it from
little,
my
it's a
mom.
little bird. There's a little bird book, I think. And it's a little bird that walks around and he's like trying to find his mom, I think.
Oh, that's
And
right.
yeah, I
And
think
he's like,
that's
"Are you my
it.
mom? Are you my
Yes,
mom?" Right?
I think that's it. I'm not sure. We gotta double check. Someone fact
I
check
know,
us.
right? Someone fact check us, please. I need to have someone over here with a typewriter, like that little Kermit gift. I love it. Also, I'm like the
Oh,
queen
are you
of
my
getting.
mother? That's what it's
Are
called.
you my
Sorry, that's what.
mother? Yes, of
Yes.
course. Jessie makes stuff knows. She's incredible. Um,
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessie. So, because I'm the queen of getting off topic, we're gonna go like
Same.
right here, right back. So, what project have you done that when you manifested it, you were like, "Oh, I'm that bitch, low key or high key"?
I mean, the greatest thing that I think I've come in contact with so far has been working with Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. That,
Ooh,
um,
yes.
how can you not, name drop them if they have invited you to create content in the Maldives,
Mm-hmm.
for Jada's Instagram? Like, that was really
We
such an
love it.
exciting project. So, it was one of the reminders to me that if I could keep like just pushing to tell people
Mm-hmm.
my real story, that I could possibly save someone else, that they can still have an opportunity like this. Because thinking about my past and the way that I thought my life was going to go, that was
Mm.
not in the cards, man.
Honey,
But
that's a
it,
testimony. Okay.
woo,
Please let me. And I love a good testimony. I'm like, I don't know if it's the
girl.
Southern black woman in me, but I
Hmm.
will stand behind a testimony every time. That's a real testimony. Because
It is.
again, not everyone is that lucky, right? Like, not everyone is blessed enough to find their passion and go after their passion and even be in tune enough, really, to know what their passion is and be brave enough to follow it, right? Like, that's kind of
Yeah.
what I want people to get from these wonderful lives is that, I mean, look at you, Elise. Like, you are a beautiful biracial black woman who is like doing the dang on thing, young, successful, everything in between. So it's like, I love looking at women who remind me of myself and saying, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And if she was in this dark place, that's crazy because I feel like I'm in a dark place or I was
Hmm.
just in a dark place. So if things got better for her, then maybe that just means they'll get better for me too.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I also believe in no coincidences. So anybody who is watching this live, getting all of these juices and all of these wonderful things of advice and all this good stuff, it's because you're supposed to, right? So even
Yep.
if this live is kind of what kickstarts you to be like, okay, like maybe I don't know what my intuition is saying all the time, but I can start by doing a life audit and see. I
That's
want to
it.
give, yeah, I just want to give you guys tangible things that you can take and you can run with.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
then, in 6 months, a year, when your whole life is together, you can say that's crazy because Elise was up here talking about working with Will Smith, and here I am working with Jada too. Like, what's up? Like,
Come on, come on. Nothing that I ever
yes,
expected, but it's such a great experience. So if that's not
yes.
enough to, excite me in every day, I don't know what is. The
Okay,
world is, there's unlimited possibility as long as you
unlimited.
persevere and share
I
what you
love
love,
that.
share who you are, share what you do. Just share. Don't let perfectionism or who you
Mm.
think you need to be, or what, all that stuff, that when the head starts getting into problem solving,
Yep.
just, go, 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 because that's the key.
Yes.
That's
It
it.
is the key. That's the cheat code, y'all. Like that's it. Like, um, okay, so we only have 15 minutes left. I'm like, no.
No.
Right? Never. Okay, so one a big question I had was what's like something that keeps you aligned?
Ooh, yeah.
In addition to like, the journaling and the meditation
Mhm.
and the reading and setting your side in the morning aside, is there anything that just like gets you going and flowing that it's just, this is it for me?
I think what really gets me going and flowing is reading books, educating
Love it.
myself,
Hmm.
learning, humbling myself to
Yes. Is there a
learn.
certain type of book?
This love, anything that I will literally meditate on something, what
Hmm.
I'm having trouble with coming up with ideas, whether I'm impatient, whether, I mean, it could
Mm.
be anything. I'm trying to think about time differently, I'm trying to prepare, plan. I search it, figure out what book there is, and I get it
Yes.
and I read it. Like,
I
it's
love
it's
it.
I lead with my imperfections. I do. I
I
think
love
that
that.
was my limitation at first, but now it's the
Hmm.
excitement. It's the purpose. It's the mission. How can I grow? How can I get better? What can I learn? What
Yes.
can I ask? What can I do? Right?
Yes.
And then it seems difficult because there's a lot of sacrifice at first, and
Hmm.
it will be continuously forever. There's a lot
Yeah.
of sacrifice and delayed gratification, but you get used to it. It grows in your soul.
Yes.
It becomes a
Because
habit. It
look at
really
what the
does.
trade-off is. It's like you
Hmm.
sacrifice in this sense. And it's funny because that kind of reminds me, I'm a huge Will Smith fan.
Yeah.
So that kind of reminds me of he was talking before, I think he did a video on his Instagram a long time ago, and it was about how us as people sometimes, you say that you want one thing. Like I think he was
Hmm.
talking in the video about like somebody coming up to him and being like, Will, I want to be an actor, man. I want to be an actor. But it's kind of like, do you really, you know what I mean? Are you willing to make that sacrifice? Are you willing
Hmm.
to choose what's in your own best interest? That's kind of what he was saying
Yep.
in the video. And that hit me and it always stuck with me because I'm like, wow,
So real.
I have to choose what's in my best interest to get there. And sometimes it's going to be a sacrifice. Like, I'm sure
Hmm.
some mornings you do want to sleep in past 5 a.m., right? Or, I'm sure. But if the
Yeah.
trade off is you getting that
Yep.
time to do everything that you need in order to have that energy and that spiritual strength to start and
Yes.
continue your day, like, is it such a trade off? Like, is it that bad?
Ah,
For
it's
me
worth
right
it.
now, I'm like, kinda, because I love sleep. But
I just go to bed like so early. Like my bedtime is literally 10 p.m. and
I love it, girl. I'm
people
glad I
in
caught
LA
you
are like
before you went to
texting me. I'm
sleep.
like, I'm asleep, bro. And then I'm like, good morning at like 5, and they're like still up at like
It's like
1 or 2.
me.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
me. I'm like, oh, 3 o'clock. I'm going to bed. Like that
Yeah, I'm
literally is
used to it.
me.
And so I have like a go to sleep club, I think, on Twitter where they're like, oh, it's time to go to bed. I'm like, yep, all right, I'm waking up.
You're right. I know.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes. Okay. Elise, this has been incredible.
So
Um,
incredible. I've had so much fun with you. You're
I have
awesome.
had so much fun with you. You're awesome too,
Hmm.
girl. This was everything that my soul needed. I needed this
Yes.
authenticity. I needed this connection. I saw someone in the comments say to like, please save the video. I save all of these videos directly on Soul Sister
Yay.
Network's IGTV, and I put them on our YouTube so you guys can watch them there.
Cool.
But I want to leave with one last little tidbit. Elise, what would be one parting word of advice that you would give people who are like trying to manifest money or a relationship or a career? Like, what's one last little tidbit of like, go on your way, that kind of vibe?
I think that you need to study and ask people and
Mm,
not think you're alone. I think that's one of
mm,
one of the key things to manifestation is understanding that sure you may be the first, with an idea, sure you may be the first, with
yep.
certain things, but you also have to understand that there's a ton of paths that have been paved and a ton of people who can offer advice and help and never think that you've exhausted that. I mean, I think
Yes.
that there is a never ending amount of education, of things you can study, of people you can
Yes.
ask. don't limit yourself to just doing everything on your own. You know, I think for me,
Mm.
when it comes to changing my money, changing my life, it came to
Yes.
me being vulnerable enough to tell people that I needed help, you know, and I think I was a little
Wow.
too proud and a little too embarrassed to say
Oh,
that I needed it.
girl,
And so when
pride
I
before the
finally,
fall.
you know, and so I finally humbled myself enough and tore down that ego, you know, I
Mm.
decided that, you know, that was the key. And so now I'm
Yes.
open. I'm an ear to everybody who is good at what they do, you know.
Yes. So for anybody who's trying to get to that point where they should just be open and start asking people, what advice could you give them about being comfortable with asking? Is it
I
like a
mean,
rip off the band-aid kind of moment? Like just ask and it'll
I think there's somewhat of an issue when it comes to you know, like asking someone to pick their brain or whatever. I think the greatest thing you can
like
possibly do to learn is to help people. I think you want to at least
mm,
give someone experience enough to help you in a way where, you know, you're at least getting involved. You know, it's almost like an
mm-hmm.
accidental advice giving or help. You know, I don't know how to explain
Yes.
that further, but I hope it makes sense. It's, you have
It
to,
does. It
you
does.
know, somewhat give in order to receive and not just be
Yes.
like, okay, I want to take from you and all the time
Mm-hmm.
you've invested in learning what you have. Because when
Mm-hmm.
you want to pick someone's brain, you're just hopping in and hopping right back out. You don't want to hop
Mm-hmm.
in and hop out. You want to make sure that you're invested in someone else's story just as much as they're invested in yours.
Exactly. And then I feel like because the music industry is like exactly the same thing. Girl, if I had a dollar for every time somebody asked me about picking my brain, about working at Rap Nation
Girl.
or Young Money Cash Money, girl, I would go crazy if somebody asked me to pick my
Yeah.
brain one more time. Because the truth is like, and I've asked people, this is no shade, because I've asked people to pick their brain,
Of
right? Before
course.
I knew
Yeah.
what this meant. Like, hey, can I
Easy.
just talk to you? But
Yeah.
I've gotten so much more out of the experiences where I went and volunteered my time
Hmm.
or asked if I could help someone with something or like did something ahead of time and then just showed it to them and said, hey, I
Right.
did this. I hope it could help. I've learned more in those situations
Hmm.
than when I went with a notebook and like took notes because
Awesome.
you don't
Yeah.
really receive it the same way, or at least I didn't.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Or what I like to do is hire people too. That's when I learn my
Mm-hmm.
most. I mean, I know that some people may not have that power, but if you do have the
Yeah.
power to at least give a little bit of cash to someone and to learn on
Yes.
that collaboration, I think that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
coolest things.
Yes. Boss. That's a boss answer right there. Because that'll in due time, sis, in due time. I definitely love freelancing a good person here and there. So yes, yes.
Also, if
Um,
you're uncomfortable with, you know, talking to people too, books, man, books are cheap and there's a lot of audible books and listenings and podcasts and stuff, man.
I love
Anything you
you
want to
can learn
learn,
anything online. That's a
internet.
fact. That's a fact. You can learn
Yep.
anything online in a book. You don't even really need. That's why I'm never shady to because I went and got my degree at Syracuse and
Mhm.
loved it, loved the experience. But it also was like, did I have to pay all that money to do that? No, because I could have just got a book from Barnes and Noble and like taught myself
Right.
half of this stuff. But it's
Literally.
fine, you know, like it's fine. It's fine. We're already in debt. It's fine.
Thousands of
Not for
dollars. It's
long,
whatever.
but
It's
it's
like,
fine. You know,
you're
like
gonna be good.
ow. Holler at me next year this time, baby. It's gonna be a whole different Kanique. You're gonna be like, Kanique? I'm gonna be like,
Ooh, I'm
oh, I feel like I knew you at
excited.
one point, Elise. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, who are you? I don't know your name.
Who's this?
You see me hitting my
Elise.
invisible hair? Like I so
I
good.
love it. You make me want a shortcut, by the way. I never felt like I
Girl,
had to
let's
pay for
freedom.
it, but I'm
Ooh,
like,
you have a
oof,
gorgeous
right? What
face.
a
No, you would
time.
absolutely.
Oh,
Oh
thank
yeah.
you so much, girl.
It's
I
freedom.
lost. Okay, speaking of weight, and well, speaking of manifesting, I like manifested a cute little weight loss. So now I'm getting used to like having
Hey.
cheekbones and stuff, girl. Hey, yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay, we're
Hey,
down
cheeks.
70 pounds. We're
Hey.
not to the finish line yet, but we're getting there, baby. Okay.
I'm really proud of you.
Um,
Congratulations.
yes, thank you. Congratulations to you and all of your
Thank
successes. I'm here for
you.
all of it. So as
Thank
we're
you.
wrapping up, how can people keep in touch with you or well, that and if you want to tell us something that you're manifesting right now, you can do that too. One,
Of
the other, both.
course. I'll do the one first and then the other. How about that?
Ah,
Okay, so okay, so So I'm working on a book right now, which is basically it's based on my writing. It's based
Yes,
on
Mama.
the experiences I've had as a child of the internet. So
Love
I like
it.
to call it, which has been quite a process. I hired a copywriter. I've got a book designer.
Yes.
Everything's going to work. It's interesting because when I hired the copywriter, I just thought she was going to edit the grammar and, come to find out she's like digging deep. She's like, what does this mean? What is this? How
I'm
are you
like,
feeling? Why do you do this? What is like you got to baby
mm-hmm.
people, And I'm like, there was a
Yes.
day where I literally just cried because I was like, it kind of broke me in a way where I
Mm.
was like, I thought I knew what I was doing, but I
Wow.
had no idea, and there was so much more work to do. But
Wow.
I got through that day, and the next day I was inspired. I was ready. I was open. I was humbled
Yes.
to, I just almost had like I've read this in a book. I don't remember what book it was, but the thing about being wrong is that we have our own little funeral inside of ourselves, whether it's an idea, an
Wow.
expectation, or whatever. And you have to allow that grievance point, that grievance time. And so I allow and understand sometimes when I'm wrong or there's an expectation or whatever, to give myself that space to grieve for the idea
Yes.
or the person or the thought that I had. And so when I do
Yes.
that, I mean, that was my grieving point. I grieved for that idea that of what my book was, and then
Mm.
reapproached it the next day. I said, okay, let's go. Now I read all the
Yes.
comments she had, responded to them, dug deep, really went with it, and it's becoming so
Yes.
much more deeper of a book. It's going to be so much more prompt driven, so much more, just intuitive,
Yes.
and I'm really excited. I'm really, really happy
I'm
about it, and
here
I'm
for it
just
all.
glad
Yes.
yeah. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here for it. Yes. What a good way to end this off.
I
I'm like, a
know.
book? Okay, just keep us posted. We'll
Yeah,
shout it
and
out on Soul Sister Network. Okay.
of course. And then if anyone wants to, follow me or learn more about what's going on, I'm also speaking at
Please
Adobe Max
do.
coming up, big festival or big convention online for Adobe. But my Twitter at Swopes, Instagram at Swopes. You see me
Yes.
now here. And then my website. My website's got everything on it. I'm a big
Love it.
website
Yes, it
like
does.
designer, so you can find. I got organization charts on there. I got my podcast on there. I got about 30 episodes where I talk about just all kinds of stuff. I got
Yes.
I got my mentorship program on there. I mentored 20 people, by the way,
We
and you can
love it.
apply to be mentored as well. There's a ton of stuff. So have fun. Go
Yes,
crazy.
we love it. I'm here for it all. Please check out her website. If you guys don't
Thanks.
follow her, definitely follow her directly. On the flip side, if you guys don't follow Soul Sister Network and you would like to, come on. We'll love you. We do content like this all the time and get to talk with other wonderful, incredible women like Elise. And this has been incredible. Just a shout out, we have an upcoming money manifestation workshop on October 25th. The link is in Soul Sister Network's bio. Really affordable, $10 a ticket. But I give you visualization exercises. We go deep together and just giving you that space to do the deep work that me and you both know you probably aren't going to do on your own unless someone is over you, just making sure you get it done. Sometimes you need that kickstart. So that's what October 25th will be for. But I want to end it out and thank you so much, Elise, for taking the time to talk to us, to meet with us. My spirit is like so full. I hope you can feel it. I'm sending you so much love your way, babe. I really am. And this has been incredible.
Thank you. I cannot thank you enough. I honestly, I mean, you've given me the platform to speak about myself, which is in turn a therapy. Sometimes
Yes, it
you don't get to
is.
say and speak these things unless someone asks you. So I'm so thankful
Yes.
that you've given me the platform to chat. So thank you again. And I'm
Yes.
looking forward to seeing all your success because I know it's going to be great.
Yes, back at you, babe, honey. I'm here
Thank
for
you.
it all. Yes. So on that note, we're going to end it. But thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you,
If you need
everybody.
Elise, message her. If you need me, message me. And I will be seeing and talking to you soon, girl.
See ya. You too.
Bye,
Take care, love.
guys.
Have a
Take
good night.
care. You
Bye,
too. Bye, babe.
everybody. Thank you so much for coming.
See you soon, y'all.